Hello everyone. I don't know if you saw my last video, but we did a video on how many audio tracks can you get out of an old PC when you've got reverb and delay as an insert on each one of them. And after I did the video, it was great. But after the well, I say it's great. You could be the judge of that. But after I did the video, I thought to myself, well, that's good and everything, but what purpose does it show that you can run 32 tracks of audio with reverb and delay on each one? You know, that's great, but in the real life scenario, what would perhaps be more interesting is, can you write a song on an old, cheap, perhaps free PC? Now, if I give you a bit of background about this computer, it's I checked the BIOS and stuff, and I checked the dates on it, and it looks like it was built in August 2008, which would make it just about 12 years old. So it's a 12-year-old PC. It wasn't actually intended for audio recording. It was just someone just donated to me, very kindly gave it to me. Now, what I wanted to do, because I don't know if you've seen on YouTube and in the news recently, Apple have brought out their M processor, and PCs, you've got the Ryzen processors, all of the stuff that's happening. It's fantastic. Everything is so quick now. You can get computers that are so speedy, and you can run hundreds to thousands of tracks, and that's fantastic. I'm not knocking that in the slightest. I think it's great. But when I think about it, sometimes I fall into the trap where I think, well, I definitely need that. But then sometimes I have to retake and think, do I actually need that? Because how many tracks do you need? How many tracks do you want to run? So I thought perhaps as an antidote to that, what everyone's doing regarding the best, perhaps take something that's not well, I don't want to say it's the worst, but not particularly modern in computer senses. I suppose 2008, when you're going on 12 years, that's almost an antique in computer terms. So what can you do with it? So after the last video I made, I created a track. So I created just a blank track, and I started adding in instruments, and I actually got to the stage where, as you can see here, my processor, the actual load that's the computer's handling, it stays below 50%. But I spent sort of half an hour creating a song. Don't judge me on the song when you hear it, because I'm going to play it and see what the CPU load goes to then. But what I did, I recorded some live guitars. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 6? Yeah, 6 guitar tracks. Obviously, they're not all playing at the same time. I've got a bass guitar which is running from Halion Sonics, so a VST instrument that comes with Cubase. But what I thought I'd add to the mix also is some plugins that perhaps aren't stock to Steinberg's Cubase. So I've got Contact here, and I've got 3 instruments running in this. This is from, do you know, we looked at the last video about, or probably 2 weeks ago now, where we looked at Piano Book. So I've got some instruments running from there. What else have I got of any interest? I've got some audio samples. These are just stock from Cubase, to be honest. I've got a lot of automation running. I thought I'd try it with automation as well to see if that made any difference. I'd say I've got a fair amount. I've got Groove Agent. I've got Groove Agent actually twice. So I've got the drum instrument twice. What else? Podolsky. That was the other synth we've looked at. So we've got a good mix of audio and MIDI. And as I say, not all of it is running all at the same time. But then in a song, that generally doesn't happen. You don't have all of the instruments starting and finishing, and that's it. So I think it gives a fair representation of perhaps a relatively basic song, I suppose. That's the way I'd judge it. It's got 28 tracks, and if I just load up the mixer to show you, you can actually see what I'm running. So I've got Amplitude 4, so I've got a fair amount of this can be quite CPU intensive, not particularly, but it's relatively. So I've got some guitar sims, I've got some distortion plugins, all sorts of things running. Valhalla, that's the one we looked at. Do you remember that reverb we looked at? And I've got that as a send effect, so I'm running this down here on a few instruments. So there's a fair amount running. So, I'll tell you what I've got at the start, which I just listened through this. So, and at the start I've actually got a record player at the end because I'd run out of things. I ran out of things to actually chuck in here because I did it quite quickly. So as I say, don't judge me on the song. But if you think that's the CPU loading at the start and it's not handling it, it's not. It's because I've put a record player sample in there. Okay, so I've taken into account as well when I play this, I've got Voicemeeter running. The actual driver for Cubase is Voicemeeter because usually it would be one of my interfaces, but in order for you to hear Cubase and me talk, I'm using Voicemeeter. So I'm sure if you're using an audio interface, it will be even more secure than this is. I'm running PodFarm for the microphone, and I've also got OBS running. So it's even running more than a computer with just Cubase loaded. So there are other background things happening because it's actually recording video and audio as well into OBS. Okay, so, but as you can see, these are the guitars with the amps in. I've got bass. I've got Contact coming up. As I say, don't judge me on the song. But as you can see, under performance, we're still under 50%, so I could add a lot more to this. But I got to the point where I thought, well, what's the point? You can see what a relatively basic song can do. Of course, I could probably add another 20 tracks to this, I don't know, but I didn't need to. It's just, it worked. As you can see there, it dropped in naturally. That's probably because I'm running the video editing software as well, and that's one thing I want to see. If you watched the last video and you saw me sort of stuttering slightly, I can guarantee it wasn't the audio. The DAW, when I was listening into Cubase, I wasn't getting that. It was because OBS was struggling. It wasn't that Cubase was breaking up. It was starting to in places, but it looked worse than it was because the video was breaking up. But as you can see, some of these synths as well are running arpeggiators and stuff. And it's running it. Obviously, I can't guarantee, but what I wanted to put to you was the fact that the chances are, if you can buy Cubase or you've got some DAW, I nearly said, yeah, WD-40, but if you've got a DAW, if you've got some DAW such as Cubase or something like that around, or you can buy it, even if it's the light version, the chances are I can't guarantee this, of course, but the chances are, if you've got a relatively modern computer, it should be able to handle it absolutely no problem. Obviously, I can't guarantee that, but this is showing you a pretty basic setup. This is, really, it's only got that's the other thing, it's got 4 gigabytes of RAM, this computer, as we said before, so, and available to me, I think it's 1.9 gig is available to me because the operating system and stuff is taking up the rest of the RAM. So yeah, it's got 4 gig of RAM, it's running 28 tracks of audio, and as you can see, it's under the processor strain, it's absolutely fine. So can you run a track, can you compose a track on a relatively old PC? I'd say yes, yeah, you can, so good luck.